Hello, everybody, and welcome back again to another session of the Quintessence recordings. And these are recordings of Jannach chapters, so Jannach's German for Reading Knowledge textbook. So it introduces the most important elements in this chapter. Those parts of the chapter that you should pay attention to, especially when you're going through it, and you should ideally listen to this before beginning working through the chapter. It includes, as we've done before, some comments on vocabulary, learning words and word families from the Easy Key to German Vocabulary, and also picks up some words from the 100 Stems resource, as well as the workbook that we're using. So we've had a lot of fun recording these. So, today our guest speaker is Matthew. Matthew, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Matthew Berry. I'm a PhD student at Southwestern Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas. I just completed the turbo version of the Erasmus German over the summer and learned quite a bit, and I'm glad to be here with you today.
I haven't heard that term before, the turbo version.
It's a term that's kind of colloquial at the seminary for these types of courses where you take them in an intensive summer session.
Yeah, it's a good term. Okay, so let's take a look at this fourth chapter now. And this fourth chapter introduces and see if you can see this mark here. Let's go down a bit. The indefinite articles. And see if our mark is still there. Can you see that? Oh, it's blue now. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
good. What we had before, it's very clear. Okay, so the indefinite articles are just a instead of the, and it gives you the declension of those, which follows precisely the declension of the definite article. So this is eine, ein, and this would be der, die, das, and then accusative einen, eine, eins. Equivalent would be den, die, das, dative, einem, meaning dem, der, dem, so of to or for a with a masculine and then feminine and neuter, and then genitive, eines, einer, eines, very similar to, identical to des, der, des. So if you've learned that paradigm of the definite article declension, then you can apply it to this, and it's perfectly identical to that. So, and this is a nice little row of words. So den is equivalent to einen, and then dem, einen. Let's read some of these. Dem, einen.
Dem einem.
This is to or for something masculine or neuter, and this is to or for a thing, masculine or neuter. Des, eines.
Des eines.
Die, eine.
Die eine.
Der, einer.
Der einer.
So just it's showing the similar forms of those now indefinite articles. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these. Kein means not a, so it's kein, keine, kein, keinen, keine, kein. Nothing new at all, so it remains the exact same thing. And then they're introducing some of the personal pronouns or possessive pronouns. My, mine. Let's read some of these. Mein, dein, sein.
Mein, dein, sein.
So, and these all have the same endings as the indefinite article or the definite article. So if you said the house of my father would be das Haus meines Vaters, or of his father, das Haus seines Vaters. Or a house of our father, das Haus unseres Vaters, etc. Okay, so just following the same pattern as you see above. Here are some other words that have the same, that are also limiting adjectives, so-called, and they have also the same endings that you just experienced, that you've just seen. Now, this chapter also introduces the irregular forms for strong verbs, and strong verbs are those that have a vowel change when they move from the present tense into the past tense. And but for these strong verbs, they have the pattern of having slight changes, always some change in the second and third person singular. So you see here, ich sehe, du siehst, sieht, wir sehen, ihr seht, sie sehen. So what persons change there? Matthew?
Yeah, so the second and third person singular change, and the vowel changes in sayin from an E to an IE.
How about to geben? What is the change there?
The first vowel changes from an E to an I.
Good. And then it reverts back to the regular vowel in all the plural forms. How about with laufen? What's the change there?
Laufen just picks up an umlaut over the A.
Great. Okay.
But otherwise stays the same.
Okay. And then they have a huge list of verbs. So this is one thing that you need to learn, but it's not too hard to actually learn these. Here are the some examples of verbs. These are all strong verbs. They all have a vowel change moving into the past, which we haven't seen yet. So brechen, for example, would be brechen, brach, gebrochen. But in the present tense, ich breche, du brichst, er bricht, and then wir brechen. It goes back to that. How about verfressen? What would be the first person singular? Ich.
Ich fresse.
And then
du frisst, er frisst,
and then wir
fressen.
Good. This happens to be in this case, it happens the second and third person singular happen to be identical, which is sometimes you'll see that. For helfen, ich helfe, du hilfst, er hilft, and then it goes back to the E again, wir helfen. How about doing lesen? Just conjugate that first, the singular there. Ich.
Yep. Ich lese. Du liest. Sie liest.
Yeah, sie.
Wir lesen.
Good. And again, here with this verb, they happen to have the same form for the second and third person singular. Okay. All right. That's good. Let's see. And then there's some other patterns by which changes occur in the second and third person singular. So, for example, backen, ich backe, du bäckst, er bäckt. So what's the change there?
On that one, it has picked up an umlaut over the A.
Yeah. So how about this schlafen? You want to just do the whole conjugation of that? Ich schlafe, start from that.
Ich schlafe, du schlafst.
Du schläfst.
Schläfst. Sie schläft.
Yeah, wir.
And then wir schlafen.
Good. And then ihr schlaft, and then sie schlafen. Good. So this A is quite a sharp A. Du schläfst. My father used to tell me, or his father used to tell him, "Schlaf wohl, mein Kind," sleep well, my child, when he's putting him to bed. So here are different changes with AU. When you have AU in the main part of the verb, of the infinitive, it changes to a umlaut U. So ich laufe, du läufst, er läuft, it would be. And to drink or to guzzle, ich saufe, I guzzle, du säufst, er säuft, etc. All right. This is just one note that es gibt can be both there is and there are. Es gibt eine gute Universität. And then here, es gibt einige Universitäten, as you can read from the translation, just to be aware of that. And then the compound nouns, which we've mentioned, I think, before, that the second, in a compound noun like winter, semester, there are two words there, winter, the winter, and semester, the semester. Whatever the gender is of the second word in that compound determines the gender of the whole word. So it's actually der Winter, which is the winter, masculine, and das Semester, so that's why it's das Semester. Here's another one, das Geburtsdatum. It's die Geburt, with the birth, simply, and das Datum, the date. So altogether, it makes it a neuter noun. Okay. All right. So that's pretty straightforward. And then you have the ordinal numbers as contrasted to the cardinal numbers. This means the first, second, and third. And you have, let's read some of this. Der erste, der zweite, der dritte. Everybody?
Der erste, der zweite, Der Dritte.
Good. So these actually don't, the endings of these don't actually change, whether it's a male or a female. So you could say der erste Mann, the first man, or die erste Frau. So that as ordinal numbers, the endings don't change as you might expect them to do. Okay, let's see. With the vocabulary, we'd like to sort of peruse through these and see which ones have similarities to English and which one and where there's some connections. What would you say about also, uh, Matthew?
Also is what we would call a false friend because
Hmm.
it sounds like the English word also, exactly spelled the same way, but means thus instead.
Hmm.
So uh,
And,
not having a commonality with also in English.
and what about Nietzsche's also sprach Zarathustra? Is that a good way to remember that?
Yep, absolutely. Thus spake the Zarathustra.
Exactly. Good. Good way to remember that. How about beschreiben?
Beschreiben, to describe. So
Hmm.
for me, and I always encourage people to do it however works for them, but it sounds very much like describe, even if it's not exactly spelled the same. So beschreiben, describe, um, and can make a connection there.
Hmm. And so what does schreiben mean by itself?
Schreiben means to write.
Great.
Or in my mind, if you scribe something, I know it's a bit of an archaic phrase, but to scribe something, to write something.
Not at all. How about this brief letter? And did we get the adjective brief from this German noun?
Yeah, there's a commonality there. And for me, trying to remember it, I think of a legal brief as
Hmm.
a short written document. So,
Hmm.
brief, a letter.
Great. Let's see what else. Essen, eat, fallen. This is similar. Uh,
Very simple.
these are all similar. Do these look similar to you? Let me just move up a little bit. Let's see here. Okay, so we're looking at these words down here. So essen, to eat, fallen, fail. Why is this? Why do they list this word here? Fallen, failed.
Because this is one of the words that we were just dealing with that goes to an alternate spelling.
Hmm. And that means this verb is what? Either strong or weak.
It's a strong verb.
Good. So all the strong verbs will have a change in the past tense, but they also have the characteristic of the second and third person singular present tense as having a slight alteration. How about these words? Are these similar?
Yep. Form and form. Frei and free. Ur and for. And then geben, to give.
Hmm.
All have very similar familiarities.
Great. Let's see. So, and up at the top here, let's see, ear, courts, my. This looks very similar. Um, so this Arbeiter means a worker, and mit just means with primarily. So a with worker or with art worker or a co-worker is how that comes out. Um, here's your verb again. This looks similar, doesn't it?
Yep. Stay in to see.
Hmm. Okay.
And even almost more so in that irregular second person, the sight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Um, okay. It's actually pronounced seat. Do see or
seat.
seat. Um, Southern. Here's some more words that are the same. Sona, die Sona. And remember, how do you know the gender of this word, Sona?
Well, because it's written right beside it.
Yeah, but what else?
And because it ends in an E.
Two-syllable words ending in
Two
E. So
syllable word that ends in an E.
Sonna, Sonna, Gaba, Weise, um, Reise, the trip. Okay, this is similar. Studium. What gender is this one?
Studium is neuter because it ends in the M.
Or IUM,
Uh,
or always
IUM. Yeah.
IUM. And besides, of course, they give a little hint here. Um, and what does mean?
Means around.
Good. Yeah, as a prefix, exactly. So does that
Right.
sort of make up or make you think of environment? That which.
Yeah. So if you break that apart to the world around,
Mhm.
Umwelt. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah. And what car do we have that's related to this?
the Volkswagen.
Yeah. Okay. What does this umlaut er mean?
That's giving you the alternate spelling.
Well, this gives you the plural, special
Plural
plural
form. Yeah.
form there. So that you have that. We didn't mention that before. So to form the plural, this would be die Sonnen. This would be die Stimme because you add an umlaut plus the e. So this list is really good because it gives you all these endings, and this would be die Völker. So the umlaut plus the er to form the plural formation, the plural form. Okay, great. That's really nice. Okay, so let's take a look at the example sentences, and we're just doing a few here. So we're going to pick up sample sentences from exercise 1, 10, and 11. So let's just read this one um, a little bit together. Ein Gradmesser der Zivilisation, everybody?
Ein Gradmesser der Zivilisation
Eines Volkes ist die soziale Stellung der Frau.
eines Volkes ist die soziale Stellung der Frau.
Okay, so where's your verb?
Our verb is ist.
Subject is?
Ein Gradmesser.
Yeah. And what case is der Zivilisation?
Der Zivilisation is in the genitive case.
Yeah, because it's and the why is this a feminine noun? I just sort of underlined it.
Yep, ending in the ION.
Yeah, all words ending in ion are 100% feminine. So this is der, genitive, and then what case is eines Volkes?
Eines Volkes is in the genitive as well.
Yeah. So and why is it eines and then es here?
Eines is one of the words that in the masculine, in the genitive, the masculine and the neuter pick up an additional s on the verb, on the noun.
Exactly. So of a
Eines plus an s.
Great. Plus an s or es. Now, why couldn't you just add an s after a k?
It doesn't work that way. You have to have the es between them.
So for the stem of the word, if it ends in a not all consonants. So there's some consonants that allow simply an s, but k is one of them that doesn't. So it's Volkes of a people. Okay. Let's see. You want to translate the whole thing? This is the standard or the measure.
Yeah, the measure of the civilization of a people is the social position of women.
Well, der Frau, not plural.
Of woman.
Oh, and this is genitive of the woman.
Yeah.
Of the woman. Good. Great. Okay. Let's see. 10 and 11. So our practice in these quintessence recordings is just to give a sample of some of the questions and just to get you familiar with the procedure of how to translate them and what to look for. So let's do 10 and 11. Let's read this. Heute schreibe ich meinen Vater und meiner Mutter. Everybody?
Heute schreibe ich meinem Vater und meiner Mutter
einen langen Brief und beschreibe meine Afrika-Reise.
Einen langen Brief und beschreibe meine Afrika-Reise.
Good. That's your own version of this one.
Yeah, tough last word there.
It is. It's Afrika-Reise. So let's see. Where's the verb?
Schreibe.
It's the first one. Good. And subject is?
Ich.
Yeah. Any reason why this verb and subject are reversed?
I believe because this one starts with heute.
Yeah, so anything adverbial at the beginning means today, acts to reverse the subject and the verb. And the verb always likes to be in the second position anyway. So, and then what's the direct object?
Uh, einen Brief or
Good.
einen langen Brief,
Yeah,
a long letter.
yeah, this whole thing. And what gender is brief, and how can you tell?
Brief is a masculine because of the einen.
Good. And if
So
this were feminine, what would this indefinite article be?
the indefinite article would be eine instead.
Great. Okay. And what cases do we have here? Meinem Vater and meiner Mutter.
In this one, we've got two datives,
Mm-hmm.
two
Okay.
datives in a row.
Good. And so
because we're writing a letter to a long letter to my father and my mother.
But why would they change the ending of this adjective? And I thought it would be just the same.
It's going to be different because of the gender of the two nouns that they're modifying.
So explain that first one, meinem Vater.
Yep. So Vater is a masculine noun, so it takes the em in the dative, meinem, and then Mutter is feminine, so taking the er ending.
And what would this be with definite articles? With the father and the mother.
Yeah, it would be dem Vater and der Mutter.
Perfect. That's a pretty good exercise to be able to replace these two, replace them with the definite article, because then you see how similar it's built upon the paradigm of the declension of the definite article. Good. And then so I am writing, and what else am I doing?
And describing, beschreibe, describing my my trip to Africa.
Good. Yeah, my Africa trip, or my trip to Africa. Great. Okay. Let's see. Number 11. Let's read that one. Let's see. 1 second here. Sorry. Okay. Im heutigen Afrika, everybody.
Im heutigen Afrika
gibt es viele relativ neue Staaten.
Gibt es viele relativ neue Staaten.
Zum Beispiel, that's what the ZB stands for. For example, Zimbabwe, Namibia oder Botswana.
Zum Beispiel Zimbabwe, Namibia oder Botswana.
Okay. Verb is?
Gibt.
And subject is?
Es.
What can this mean? There are two meanings of this phrase that we saw in this chapter.
There are or there were.
Well, there is. So it's either singular.
There is. There are or there is.
If there were, it would be es gab, which could be there was or there were. So it's kind of funny that by the form it's singular, but it can stand for either the singular or the plural. So sort of like the il y a in French. There is or there are. Okay. And this doesn't require any. It doesn't take a accusative. So how would you translate that first sentence?
So in modern Africa or in Africa today,
yeah,
there are many relatively new states or countries, many relatively new countries.
Yeah. Going on.
For example, Zimbabwe, Namibia, or Botswana.
Good. And we haven't had this yet, but this is a adverb modifying an adjective right here. We indicate the adverb with a squiggly line and the adjectives with a dashed underline. There are many relatively new modifying that adjective states. Great. Okay. Let's see. Okay, then we're going to take let's go over to the easy key, and we're on page 4 here. Okay, sorry. Okay. So, There we go. Okay. Sorry. Hold on a second. There we go. Can you see that now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So, so this is the beginning of page 4, and all the words that are on the left, you are to the words with the small dash on the left, and also sometimes the top word, which is the basic word of the whole group, is not marked, but it's assumed that you're learning this one too. So always remember you can put an extra asterisk there if you want to. Okay, this means prepared or ready, and there's something here with the etymological comments to make ready, to read up, and I'm not sure how that actually fits together, but ready is not far from bereit, bereit to prepare, and then bereits already. Okay, how about berg? Any connections there?
Absolutely. If you see there on the right, iceberg, which is something we know, so kind of an ice mountain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Okay, das Gebirge, and it's neuter because at the end there. It's a mountain range, very common word. And then das Bergwerk, the work in the mountain or the mine, actually is the name of that in German. Bergen to salvage, to conceal. And here you have some interesting words. This means bury apparently comes from the Anglo-Saxon, and they give you the word for the Anglo-Saxon. It's a much earlier level or stage of English that's influenced English. And also, very interestingly enough, because there's an exclamation point here, bore in harbor. What do you think about that?
Or in harbor. Yeah, so it's a shelter. It's something that um, where you would put a ship to keep it safe.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
so
I mean, harbor is also just like a location, but it also has a metaphorical sense of if you say I'm harboring, great uh, desire for revenge or something, or I'm harboring a love for somebody, um, uh, a sense of possessing or sheltering in some sense, or concealing. So then the words here, verbergen, to conceal, is one verb that is related to that, and verborgen, which is hidden. Okay, then beten, to pray, um, related to bead. What about this? I'm not sure if this actually comes from the infinitive baited, but it might.
yeah, and we were discussing earlier, I'm not sure what the direct connection is, but for remembering it, it's very useful to think of, Catholic prayer beads,
Hmm.
Baton beads, to pray, maybe a connection there.
Hmm. So anbeten is to worship, to adore, and then das Gebet is the prayer. Um, okay, let's see. Okay, then then Beute. So from booty, from the Middle English apparently. So you have the booty or loot or prey. And then ausbeuten is to exploit. So this means out of. And then die Ausbeute is the profit or gain that one gets from capturing or from taking as as booty something. So this definitely, I mean, our English word booty comes directly from the Latin, I mean, from the German, die Beute. And then biegen is to bend, to bow, to bow. And then this line here obviously means that these words also belong to the same family of words. Biegsam, pliant, and der Bogen. And then a nice word, of course, says der Regenbogen, which they should have added here. Um, any thoughts about that?
Not immediately off, but again, like I said, have said before, sometimes it takes me a while to think about them, to try and connect the words and their meanings, and whatever works for you, whatever connections your brain makes, lean into those for help memorizing these.
Okay. Um, okay, here's the next one. So bieten, a very common verb, to offer, to bid, and I'm sure the English words bid and forbid come directly from that, for sure. And they just give you the two other principal parts, bieten, bot, geboten, just because sometimes vocabulary can be taken from any one of the three principal parts of the verb. So darbieten, to present, das Gebiet, a very common word, and it means, I mean, you can use it like das Gebiet, the area of your studies, the area of a town, the realm of something. So it's very common, but its fundamental meaning is, however, that which is governed, or that's under one's command, das Gebiet. So if you have an area of study that's your Gebiet, then you've already learned it very well, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Just sort of rambling about that, but anything like that you can connect. Uh, then verbieten is to forbid, to fair, working for the opposite of the meaning of the root word. Then bote, der bote, looks like a feminine noun, but it's masculine. To bode ill or well, that's very clearly a connection. So our word to bode comes from the German. And Botschaft is very common, which means a message or an embassy. So the embassy in Washington, or the embassy in any country, is die Botschaft von Deutschland, or something like that. Okay, and then das Gebot is the commandment. Das Gebot. Billig, the last one here, means actually fair-minded and reasonable, but the normal word just means cheap or less expensive. But the real sense of it is reasonable, and has the Old High German indicated there that it comes from, meaning reasonable. And so billigen is to approve of or to find reasonable, etc., etc. Okay, great. Let's take a little break. See if I can pull this up here. And we're going to go next into the 100 stems, but right there. But I just want to take a little break to see if we can do this here. Pause. Okay. Hello, we're back after a break. Hope you had a chance to take a break as well. And we're continuing here with, as you see on the screen, the 100 stems of lesson 4. And so I was just asking Matthew, how do you organize cards, or how do you learn vocabulary, especially with these word families? What would you suggest? Or
Sure. So generally speaking, for vocabulary, I use an app called Quizlet, which allows me to create digital flashcards. It's also got some learning games and different things to help you
Mhm.
put things together and learn them easily. And it's beneficial because it's always on your phone, which you usually have with you wherever you go.
Yeah.
And then as far as word families, putting them either on cards or in the app together, individual cards, because you still need to learn the meanings of each word individually, but keeping those sets of cards together so that you can remember the connections.
Mhm.
Say for this word family 10,
Mhm.
under the word ding, that you can remember each of those words kind of go together in the same family.
Uh-huh. Great. Yeah, you mentioned Quizlet. That is a great resource. In fact, someone has recorded all of the vocabulary in each chapter of the Jannach German for Reading Knowledge textbook. So you can go in there, just Google Quizlet and then Jannach German for Reading Knowledge, and you'll come to it actually. And it has all these fun games, which I enjoy playing as well. So how about the first one? Ding, thing, matter. You had a sort of a mnemonic for that. What was
Yeah,
it?
just kind of a silly thing. Don't ding that thing. And so sometimes the things you might come up with are incredibly ridiculous, and maybe might even help you remember them easier.
Yeah. So this is das Ding. It's a neuter noun. Bedingen, to condition. Bedingt is condition. But this is much more commonly used. Unbedingt. Ich will unbedingt nach Frankreich reisen. I will definitely unbedingt do something. Used as an adverb very often. Then the Bedingung is the condition. Okay, dringen, and then they give you the three principal parts here. Dringen, drang, gedrungen. Is this a strong verb or a weak verb, Matthew?
This is a strong verb, I believe.
Yeah, because it changes from I to A, from the I in the main part of the verb, stem verb, to A, and then to U. So the vowel pattern, which we'll talk about later on, is I, A, U. That's how it changed. Dringen, drang, gedrungen. And this is the third person singular, past tense, and this stands for the past participle. Okay, so the words here that should be learned are just three in this particular grouping. So Drang, der Drang, the urge. Sorry, let me erase this. Der Drang, the urge. You have Sturm und Drang, which is the Sturm und Drang period in German literature that Goethe was so instrumental in in creating or forming. It just means storm and stress, literally, or urge. Mich drängt es. I feel the urge to do something. I feel impelled, etc. And then drücken is a very nice word to press simply. So aus we know means what? Aus means
out of.
just out, O-U-T.
Yeah.
And so and drücken means to press. So our word is based exactly on that principle, which I thought was very exciting. To press out, to express something is to press something out. And just like this word works exactly the same way, to press out. And then der Ausdruck, there should be a line here. Just add that line if you will, please. Is the expression, again, from Ausdruck, so to the pressing out. And ausdrücklich is explicit. And then der Eindruck, what would ein mean? It means actually into, or so impression comes from exactly as the parallel translation for Eindruck, something that makes an impression, Eindruck. And then unter means what?
Unter would be under.
Good. So, and this is the pressing, so the pressing under or the suppression, die Unterdrückung. So those are all the words, just a few this time for learning for chapter 4. And let us go into proceed to our lovely exercise book for the next ones. And we're going to take a look at, let's see, let's go back a little bit here. So you have here just some of the review. Again, the order in which the different items are presented in this workbook are slightly different than the Jannach textbook, but it's very useful to review them in a different context. So you have the nominative accusative, der Lehrer, den Lehrer, everybody?
Der Lehrer, den Lehrer.
Ein Lehrer, einen Lehrer.
Ein Lehrer, einen Lehrer.
Good. Okay. Then the verbs, we've had the verb to be. Here's the verb to have. So ich habe, let's read this. Ich habe, du hast.
Ich habe, du hast.
Sie hat.
Sie hat.
Wir haben, ihr habt, sie haben.
Wir haben, ihr habt, sie haben.
And just read this sentence. Ich habe den Bleistift.
Ich habe den Bleistift.
Du hast einen Bleistift.
Du hast einen Bleistift.
Why is it einen Bleistift?
Because it is in the accusative form.
Good, and Bleistift is masculine, as you saw
Right,
from
masculine
here.
Masculine accusative.
Yeah. Great. How about here? Sie haben die Hefte.
Sie haben die Hefte.
This happens to be plural, like notebooks, so that means Sie with a small s would be they have, but Z with a capital would be the former. You have the notebooks. Very profound. Okay, let's see. Okay, then they give you something, the imperative, which is introduced much later in Jannach. Der Lehrer sagt, Herr Robertson, schreiben Sie einen Satz, bitte. Go ahead.
Der Lehrer sagt, Herr Robertson, schreiben Sie einen Satz.
Good. You ended where where the period ended, the sentence ended, I went on. So this means this is the imperative. So the teacher says, Herr Robertson, then translate this.
Mr. Robertson, write a sentence.
Yeah, you don't have to repeat the Z. You did that correctly. Bitte lesen Sie. Go ahead.
Please
Read.
read. I believe.
Exactly.
Read.
You're right. You're right. Schreiben Sie ein imperative. Okay. Then they have let's see. Then some interrogative pronouns, which again are introduced later in Jannach. Wer means who is asking. Wen, parallel to the ihn or den accusative. Whom is he asking? And was is what is false and what is he writing. So let's see. In this one, der Lehrer fragt die Frau. What does that mean? Der Lehrer fragt die Frau.
The teacher asked the woman.
Yeah, or asks, present tense. Asks.
Right, asks the woman.
Let's see. Der Satz or das Wort ist falsch. Schreibt den Satz. What would this mean? Schreibt den Satz. What would that mean?
He writes the sentence.
Yeah, good. Let's see. All right, then they have some really nice ways of learning some of the vocabulary with antonyms. Let's do these. Groß, klein, just translate those.
Large and small.
Lang, kurz.
Long and short.
Rechts, links.
Right and left.
Hinten, vorn.
Behind and in front of.
Oben, unten.
Over and under.
Hier, dort.
Here and there.
Then they just good, here and there. So then they just review the principle that the second word in a compound noun always determines the gender. So it's die Schule plus das Zimmer, and the whole word becomes das Schulzimmer, becomes a neuter noun. Okay, so let's see, this is 9. Good. Exercise 5 we're going to do a little bit of, and we're just doing some examples, 1 or 2, and then you can do the rest for your assignment. So this means form the accusative. This is also imperative. Der Lehrer zeigt einen Bleistift, it would be, because this is masculine, and what is required here is the accusative case. And what would be the definite article for that, Matthew?
For that one, it would be den.
Den. Just read the whole sentence for the definite article.
Der Lehrer zeigt einen Bleistift, or is it den Bleistift? I can't remember which one you asked for.
Well, I said einen, but use it with a definite would be den. Let's do this. Let's do this one here. Der Lehrer fragt, and then how do you know the form of this one? There are 2 things you need to know.
So that one is going to be needing to know the gender.
Good.
And the case.
Good. Exactly. So nicely done. So you need to know the gender of this noun that's in the accusative case, and you need to know that the accusative case is required in this sentence. So this is masculine, and this would be den Lehrer. How about if the sentence would be the pupil asks a teacher? What would that be?
In that case, it would be einen Lehrer.
So do the whole thing, the whole sentence.
Der Schüler fragt einen Lehrer.
Good. This is a neuter noun, so erklärt, what would that be?
That one would be das.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Das Wort.
Good.
And then the last one would be den Satz.
Good. Do the whole sentence, number 3.
Erklärt das Wort und diktiert den Satz.
Perfect. Okay. How about number 4? Then we'll stop.
Herr Robertson schreibt den Satz.
And use it with the indefinite article?
With the indefinite article, it would be einen Satz. Herr Robertson schreibt einen Satz.
Great. Perfect. Okay. Then we're doing one thing that's a little bit more challenging, but I'm sure you'll have so much fun with it. It's exercise number 6, where you form both the verb forms that are appropriate for the person and number and the accusative. So I'll do a couple of sentences just for as an example, der Lehrer fragt, because it's third person singular, einen Schüler, because this is masculine and the accusative is required. So what you said before was really on target. You have to know the gender of this noun, and then you have to know what case is required. In this case, it's the direct object. Okay, how about doing number 2? Remember, there's an alternative form for the third person singular here.
Yep. So der Schüler antwortet
Mhm.
und schreibt einen Satz an die Tafel.
Great. So this T cannot take another T, which is the ending of the third person singular. So it has that alternative form of ET, but the B does allow a T to be added onto it. So you did it correctly. How about ich frage, wie heißt der Plural? How about this one? Dann, what would this be? So
Dann Bild,
so ich bilde would be I form.
Bilde.
Yeah.
Ja, dann bilde ich einen Satz.
And what about definite article for this one? Just do it the whole thing again.
Dann bilden ich den Satz.
But bilde, then bilde ich den Satz. It's very good to do those back and forth and replace them with a indefinite article with a definite article, because then you get used to the forms, but most importantly, you get used to how identical the forms are, just following that one paradigm. Okay, well, you did a great job, Matthew. You're scoring at least 99 or 100.
Thank you.
On all of your answers, and you did a fine job in the course too as well this summer. But anyway, well, we thank you so much for joining us, and this should really give you a nice introduction and preview of the chapter 4 in going ahead with learning the material there. So thanks so much for joining us, and Matthew, you want to just say your goodbyes as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck in the course. Just hang in there. Put in a little bit of work daily, and it won't become a lot of work toward the end, and you'll do very well.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you later. Take care. Bye-bye.